The message came during Earth's quietest hour. It was not a warning, not a threat, but something completely unexpected, a peace invitation from the Galactic Council. For years, Earth had been considered a violent, unpredictable species by most of the galaxy. Other alien civilizations feared human emotion, their quick thinking, their ability to survive the worst conditions, and most of all, their refusal to surrender. So when the Galactic Council finally reached out and asked for peace, many on Earth didn't believe it. Still, Earth responded. The message was received by the Global Defense Union, and within hours, world leaders were in private meetings. They all had one question: was this real or just another trick? The Council had ignored humanity for decades. Now suddenly, they were ready to talk peace. President Alina Shah of Earth stood before her advisors, eyes locked on the glowing hologram of the Council's message. The alien spokesperson had smiled, offering words like coexistence, harmony, and galactic unity. It sounded perfect to perfect. General Marcus Hale, head of Earth's military intelligence, spoke quietly but firmly. "Madame President, we can't trust this," he said. "There's no history of peace in their actions, only pressure, threats, and exclusion." But the world was tired of war. Humanity had come far too far to keep fighting battles in space. Earth needed a break, hope, and a chance to move forward. So after long hours of debate, they agreed to attend the Peace Summit on Velthor Prime, a moon known for neutrality, but they wouldn't go unprepared. While Earth's diplomats trained in alien customs and protocol, another team was activated behind the scenes. It was called Protocol Shadowfire, a special project that only a few people knew about. Its purpose was simple: make sure that if the Council tried anything, humanity could hit back, and hard. Commander Rourke, a seasoned operative who had survived more space battles than most humans had seen in movies, was chosen to lead the mission. He would go to Velthor Prime not as a soldier, but as a diplomat's assistant. Hidden in plain sight, his team of 10 looked like translators, aides, and cultural experts. But each one had advanced armor disguised as robes, weapons hidden in briefcases, and implants in their ears, feeding them real-time data. 2 days before the departure, Rourke stood on the deck of the Earth's flagship Eclipse, staring out at the stars. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He knew something wasn't right. "Peace," he muttered. They never wanted peace before, so why now? The ship carrying the human delegates launched quietly, not from the public spaceport, but from a classified military launch pad. The main team was made up of respected ambassadors, linguists, and scholars, all with hopeful eyes and strong hearts. They truly believed this could be the beginning of something good. But in the shadows of space, just behind the main ship, 3 stealth-class warships followed, cloaked and silent, waiting for Rourke's signal. If anything went wrong, Earth wouldn't be caught off guard. When they arrived at Velthor Prime, the scene was beautiful, too beautiful. The landing bay was lined with golden lights, alien flowers bloomed around marble platforms, and music played softly in the background. Alien dignitaries welcomed the humans with open arms and bright smiles. Some even bowed. The human delegation was treated like royalty. Gifts were offered, food served, and compliments flowed like wine. Rourke watched it all with a blank face. His instincts screamed, "This is too smooth." A tall alien with silver skin and golden eyes, named Varnix, introduced himself as the Council's High Peacekeeper. He smiled warmly, speaking Earth's language. "Almost perfectly welcome, people of Earth," he said. "Today marks the beginning of unity between our kinds." The human ambassadors responded politely, some smiling, some cautiously observing. They wanted to believe. They truly hoped that war was ending, that peace had a chance. Later, in their guest chambers, Rourke scanned every wall, corner, and ceiling for surveillance devices. He found 3, cleverly hidden, but not well enough. He disabled them silently and whispered into his comlink, "We're being watched," Council surveillance tech confirmed. Meanwhile, his tech officer, Lieutenant Nyla, tapped into the nearby communication hub and noticed a strange pattern. Messages being sent in secret code, bouncing between nearby moons. She didn't break the code yet, but the signals were military-grade. Rourke reported this to Earth immediately. The Council's behavior is polished, respectful, but something is being hidden, he said, requesting silent backup authorization. Earth's command responded with just 2 words: proceed cautiously. As the sun set over Velthor Prime, the delegates gathered in a grand glass dome under the stars. There, the treaty would be discussed the next morning. Everyone wore formal robes, and the mood was calm on the surface, but full of tension. Underneath, Rourke stood quietly near the edge, eyes moving across every alien delegate, noting their body language, their expressions, their silent exchanges. He had seen soldiers disguise themselves as peacekeepers before, and he was seeing it again now. A strange shiver moved through him. Not fear, but confirmation. This was not a peace offering. It was a test, maybe even bait, and if Earth wasn't ready, they'd be eaten alive. As night fell and the lights dimmed, Rourke sat on the edge of his bed. Removing a thin metal disc from under his robe, he pressed it to his palm, activating. A silent beacon, a small red light, blinked once, then vanished. His fleet would see it. If this was truly peace, Earth would honor it. But if it was a trap, then the galaxy had no idea what humanity had brought with them. Not just weapons, not just strategy, but a fire that never dies, a fire that always fights back. The next morning came with soft, golden light pouring into the glass dome where the peace talks were about to begin. The air smelled of strange alien flowers, and the sound of distant music floated through the open corridors. Everything looked peaceful, calm, and perfect, but to Commander Rourke, it felt like standing in the eye of a storm. The human ambassadors, dressed in their formal robes, shaking off nerves and preparing for history. They believed this meeting could change everything. Some even practiced their speeches in front of the mirror, hoping to inspire peace across the stars. Rourke, however, wasn't interested in speeches. He sat at a small console inside the guest chamber, eyes locked on a data feed from Nyla, their tech officer. Her voice buzzed quietly in his earpiece. "Commander, I traced the encrypted signals again. They're not from the Council's capital. They're from warships hiding behind the dark side of Velthor Prime." He didn't move, just narrowed his eyes. "How many?" "At least 300 ships. They're powered down and hidden." "But they're there," she replied. Rourke knew, now without doubt, it was a trap. The aliens wanted the humans to sign the treaty, then strike when they were unarmed and surrounded. It was a clean strategy, brutal and efficient. But they didn't expect humans to see through it so soon in the council chamber. Delegates from across the galaxy took their places, tall figures with blue skin, glowing eyes, wings, shells, and even ones with floating bodies shimmered under the sunlight. Earth's representatives stood proud among them, but the pressure was rising fast. Varnix, the alien peacekeeper, stepped forward. His voice rang through the dome like music. "We are gathered here to welcome our human brothers and sisters. We have seen your strength, your passion, and your fire. We now offer peace." A polite wave of applause followed, and Earth's ambassador Sylvia Reed walked up to speak next. She gave a well-practiced speech about unity, trust, and a hopeful future. Her voice was strong, her words honest, but Rourke watched Varnix closely. He noticed the slight twitch in his fingers, the way he nodded too fast, the way his guards stayed closer than before. Something was off after the speeches. The council offered refreshments and led the humans to another chamber where the treaty documents would be presented, while others smiled and chatted. Rourke slipped away to a quiet corner and opened his communicator again. "Shadow Fleet, prepare. For emergency deployment, confirm battle readiness. he whispered. On the other side of the system, Earth's hidden fleet, 3 heavily armed stealth-class warships, received the signal. Their engines stayed cold, but targeting systems began to power up slowly. Unseen, back at the treaty table, the documents were laid out, glowing with soft light. Varnick smiled and said, "If your leaders agree, all that is needed now is a signature. Once signed, we will open access to our networks, our trade routes, and our knowledge in return. We ask for open access to Earth's defense grid and weapon systems." So that piece is fully transparent. Rourke's heart stopped for a second. Then it started racing. That was it. That was the real goal, not peace control. If Earth gave them access to their defenses, the Council could disarm humanity in hours and invade without resistance. Ambassador Reed hesitated, then looked at Rourke, her eyes asking silently, "Is this right?" Rourke gave the smallest shake of his head. "I'd like to consult with our security advisors before finalizing anything," Reed said calmly. "It's a big step, and we must make sure it protects both sides equally." Varnick's smile twitched. "Slightly, of course. Take your time," he said. But Rourke could see the disappointment hiding behind his words. Back in their chamber, the human team gathered. Reed spoke first. "Something's wrong, isn't it?" Rourke nodded. "They want our defense grid. If we give it, Earth is finished." "They hid ships," Nyla added, pulling up the map on her wrist device, "all behind the moon. Cloaked. Powered down but real, and ready to strike." Reed took a deep breath. "Then we can't sign anything." "No," Rourke replied. "We don't sign. But we don't run either. We buy time and call in the fleet." That night, a small device was placed at the base of the treaty podium by one of Rourke's team members. It looked like a coin, but inside, it held a coded signal. If activated, it would tell Earth's warships to uncloak and prepare for combat. Varnick didn't know it yet, but the humans had set their own trap inside the Council's palace. Meanwhile, Earth's command received Rourke's full report. President Shaw stood silently as she read it, then looked out her office window at the stars. "Activate all silent units. Prepare for first strike if fired upon," she ordered. The peace treaty had become a ticking bomb. One wrong move, and the galaxy would burn. But if the aliens thought Earth came alone and blind, they were wrong. Humanity had learned from its past. It didn't walk into traps anymore. It brought the fire with it, ready to answer peace with peace or war with war. The sun rose again on Velthar Prime, but the humans didn't feel peace in the light. They felt pressure, danger, and the heavy weight of decision. The Council was still smiling, still offering kind words. But everything underneath was sharp and cold, like a knife wrapped in silk inside the human delegation's private chamber. Commander Rourke stood with arms crossed, staring at the treaty files that had been handed over. They looked simple, just words glowing on a thin data screen, but the meaning behind those words was deadly. The clause requesting mutual defense integration meant the aliens wanted access to Earth's full security system. Its warship locations, its AI controls, even its nuclear codes. "It's not a peace deal," Rourke said quietly. "It's a takeover without firing a single shot." Ambassador Sylvia Reed nodded. "But if we refuse to sign, they might attack right here, right now, which is why we stall." Rourke replied, "We keep smiling, keep talking, and wait for our fleet to be in perfect position." Meanwhile, Nyla, the tech officer, was deep inside the alien data systems. She had managed to break into the outer layer of Council communications. She whispered into her comms, "Commander, I've found something. A secret protocol, labeled Harvest On." "What is it?" Rourke asked. Nyla took a deep breath. "It's the real plan, Commander. The Council planned this treaty as a way to get humans to drop shields. Once done, their ships will move in and disable Earth's systems from orbit. They want to take over Earth in less than 6 hours after signing." Rourke clenched his jaw. Do they think we're stupid? No, they think we're desperate, Nyla answered, that we want peace so badly. We won't look deeper. That same morning, the Council held another meeting. Inviting the human delegation back into the Crystal Dome, Varnick stood in the center again, his golden robe shining under the sunlight. He spoke with warmth, as if nothing was wrong. We understand your caution, Earth friends, but we believe in trust. And we hope to see your signatures today, so we may open a new future. The alien crowd clapped gently. Fake smiles stretched across their strange faces. Rourke looked around and saw too many guards standing too close, all of them armed. But, hiding their weapons beneath robes, Reed responded calmly, We are honored by your welcome. But Earth's Review Council has asked for a small delay. Just 24 more hours. We wish to honor this treaty fully. And that requires more discussion. Varnick's smile remained. But his eyes narrowed slightly, of course. But please understand, our people are waiting. Some may not understand delay as a sign of good faith. That was a warning. Polite on the surface, but dangerous underneath, back in their quarters. Rourke and his team knew things were getting tight. The longer they waited, the more risky it became. But if they signed, Earth would fall. They needed to act fast. Nyla finally cracked the last encryption layer, and what she found turned everyone cold. It wasn't just Earth they were after. The Council had tried this before on other species. Peace treaties followed by full-scale planetary takeovers, using the same language, the same smiles, the same lies. They're not just liars, Nyla said, her voice shaking. They're predators, and Earth is next. Rourke made his decision then. Send the final signal. Code red to the fleet. A tiny pulse shot through the comms, silent, invisible to the Council's sensors, in deep orbit behind Velthar Prime. Earth's warships received the order. Their weapons powered up, stealth fields dropped, and their hulls shimmered into full view. The Eclipse, Earth's flagship, led the fleet as it locked onto the hidden enemy ships waiting behind the moon. The aliens were surprised, caught in their own trap, scrambling to power up weapons that should have already been ready. Meanwhile, on the surface, Rourke moved through the Council building quietly, placing small metal discs at key structural points. Exits and doorways. They weren't bombs, but they could be. They were more than that. They were triggers, ready to unleash full defense protocols if needed. That evening, the Council sent a private message to Earth's ambassador, asking for a final answer. Reed sat with Rourke, both staring at the message for a long time. Should we reply? She asked. Rourke nodded. We reply with this, and handed her a new file. It was a counter document, one that exposed every piece of the Council's Trap Harvest Dawn plans. The hidden fleet, the false treaties, even recordings of Varnick's discussing Earth's fall. Reed added a single line at the end of the message. Earth does not kneel. She pressed send. The reaction came fast. Just minutes later, sirens blared in the alien palace. Council guards rushed in with weapons, demanding the humans surrender. But Rourke and his team were already in formation, armor revealed, weapons drawn. Ready for anything. We knew it was a trap, Rourke said calmly. But you didn't know it was a trap for you. 2. Above the moon, Earth's warships now, aimed directly at the enemy fleet. The message was clear. You wanted to control Earth. But Earth came armed, and Earth came ready. The game was over. The next move would decide the galaxy's future. The sound of alarms echoed across the glass halls of Velthar Prime as the Council's true face was finally revealed. The illusion of peace was shattered, and the atmosphere turned from calm to tense within seconds. Alien guards in golden armor rushed in with weapons drawn. Their eyes weren't friendly anymore. They were ready to strike. Commander Rourke and his team were already prepared. The moment the alarms began, they activated their armor. Hidden panels in their robes opened, unfolding into dark bodysuits made of advanced Earth metal. Each one had a shield generator, a communicator, and built-in weapons. The Council didn't expect this. They thought they were dealing with harmless diplomats. Ambassador Reed stood tall in the center of the room, still dressed in formal robes, but her voice was firm. If this is how you welcome peace, then let history record who started this. Varnix, the alien peacekeeper, appeared again, this time without a smile. His voice was cold. You uncovered our plans. Impressive, but it changes nothing. Earth is still surrounded, and you are still in our hands. Rourke stepped forward, his eyes like steel. You made a mistake. You thought we came blind, but we brought eyes in every shadow. You thought we came unarmed, but we brought the fire. At that moment, a loud sound shook the sky above. The roof of the palace turned transparent, and every alien in the chamber looked up. Gasps filled the room. Earth's warships had decloaked in orbit, and they were massive, shining, and ready for war. From the lead ship, Eclipse, a global broadcast was sent across Velthor Prime. It showed the Council's secret files, the Harvest Dawn plan, recordings of alien leaders laughing about Earth's fall, and the truth about the false treaty. Every civilian, soldier, and delegate on the moon now saw it all. The lie could no longer be hidden. Panic spread fast. Some alien species in the chamber began stepping away from the Council guards. Others dropped their weapons, shocked by the betrayal they had unknowingly supported. But a few still stayed loyal to the Council's plan. Suddenly, the alien guards rushed forward, aiming for the humans. Blasters were raised, orders were shouted. But Rourke's team didn't wait. They moved as one, smooth and fast. Their weapons hummed, firing clean stun shots at the attackers. One by one, the enemy guards fell to the ground, paralyzed but alive. The humans didn't want to kill. They wanted to send a message. You tried to trap us, Rourke said as the last guard fell. Now, you'll see why humanity doesn't kneel. Outside, Earth's fleet had surrounded the Council's hidden ships behind the moon. The enemy vessels had powered up too late. Earth's captains were already in control. Missiles, railguns, and EMP cannons locked onto every threat. The Council fleet had no choice. They surrendered before the first shot was fired. Back on the surface, Varnix tried to escape through a hidden tunnel, but Nyla was waiting. She blocked his path with a stun rifle and said, "We offered peace, and you offered chains. It's over." Within minutes, the Council building was locked down by Rourke's team. Messages were sent across the galaxy, informing every race of what happened. Some leaders were silent, others furious, but many were grateful. They, too, had feared the Council, but had been too afraid to resist. Now Earth had broken the silence. The people of Velthar Primelians from many different worlds began gathering. Outside the palace, at first confused, then hopeful, they had heard the truth, seen the lies uncovered. And now they watched as humans who were once treated as a threat stood for justice and honor inside the hall. Ambassador Reed stood before the alien delegates. "We did not come here to start war," she said. "We came ready because we had to be, but we still believe in peace, true peace, not one built on lies or traps." Her words were broadcast live to thousands of alien worlds, and for the first time, humanity's message was heard, not through fear, but through truth. That night, Earth's flag stood beside dozens of other banners in the main square of Velthar Prime. Not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as defenders of truth. The humans didn't fire the first shot. They didn't take over the moon. They simply revealed what was already broken. Commander Rourke stood near the edge of the landing pad, looking up at the stars, his team around him, safe and victorious. "They thought they could control us," he said, "but they forgot humanity doesn't follow. When the path is a lie, the trap had been set. But Earth had come armed, and now the galaxy would never see humans the same again. The Council's trap had failed, and Earth's people were still standing. But the danger wasn't over yet. While the human team held control on the surface of Velthor Prime and Earth's warships surrounded the enemy fleet in orbit, the rest of the galaxy was watching, and not everyone was happy about what happened. Some powerful species had supported the Council for years. They had shared trade routes, defense systems, and secret pacts. Now that the Council had been exposed, they were afraid, not just of losing power, but of Earth becoming the new force in the galaxy. Inside the Council building, Commander Rourke and his team worked fast to secure all systems. They downloaded the Council's full database and sent the files to Earth Command. Everything, every lie, every invasion plan, every hidden operation was now in human hands. Ambassador Reed stood in front of a large galactic broadcast screen, preparing to speak to over 200 alien worlds at once. She knew her words had to be careful but strong. They had uncovered a trap. But they didn't want war to spread across the stars. They needed to show strength and wisdom. When the live broadcast began, her face appeared on screens in cities. "Starships and palaces, people of the galaxy," she said, "today, the truth has come out. Earth did not fire the first shot. Earth came to Velthar Prime with open hands and full hearts. We were offered peace, but behind those promises was a plan to break our world." She continued, "We are not here to take over. We are here to protect ourselves and to protect the future of honest peace, not just for Earth, but for every species who fears the shadow of lies." Her speech spread like a wave. Some alien leaders sent messages of support within hours. Others stayed silent, waiting to see what happened next. But one thing was clear: the Council's control was broken. Still, there were those who refused to accept it in a dark corner of the galaxy. A military faction known as the Drevik Alliance had been working with the Council for years. Their ships were powerful, their commanders ruthless, and when they heard that Earth had destroyed the treaty and exposed the Council, they took it as a challenge. Not long after Reed's speech, Earth picked up a secret message between Drevik warships. "They embarrassed our allies," said one commander. "Now we show them what it means to play with fire." The Drevik fleet changed course and headed straight for Velthar Prime. Their plan was simple: strike hard, destroy the human delegation, and take back control of the Council systems before Earth could become too strong. On Velthor Prime, Rourke received the warning from Earth's deep space scanners. "Incoming fleet," Nyla said, her voice sharp. "They're not Council ships. These are Drevik, and they're coming fast." "How long?" Rourke asked. 6 hours. Rourke turned to Reed. "We either leave now or prepare to fight." Reed shook her head. "We can't run if we leave now. The Drevik will say we were the aggressors all along. No, we stay, we defend, and we finish what we started." Rourke nodded once, then tapped his comms. "All Shadowfire teams' battle stations, secure the civilians, ready the defense grid." At the same time, Earth's orbiting warships moved into combat formation. The Eclipse prepared its railguns, and missile systems locked on to all possible entry paths. The skies above Velthar Prime were about to become a battlefield. Civilians on the moon, alien families, merchants, scientists watched in fear as warning sirens began again. But this time, they didn't run from humans. They ran to the human soldiers, asking where to go, where to hide. They had seen Earth's strength, but also its mercy, and they trusted the humans more than their own former leaders. Rourke's team helped evacuate thousands into safety zones underground. His people worked side by side with alien volunteers who no longer wanted to be part of the Council's plan. It wasn't just Earth against the Drevik. Others were standing up too. As the Drevik ships entered orbit, they sent a single message: "Surrender the treaty data and your fleet, or be destroyed." Rourke stepped in front of the broadcast. Cameron replied, We won't surrender to those who serve lies. You want to fight? Then come and see what humans are made of. The battle began with a roar. Drevik fighters dove through the atmosphere, firing plasma rounds and dropping shock troops near the palace. But Earth soldiers didn't break. Their weapons were stronger, faster, and smarter, using gravity traps, AI drones, and electromagnetic shields. They pushed back wave after wave. In orbit, the Eclipse and her sister ships fought like ancient warriors. Protecting the skies above Velthar Prime, they moved like shadows, blocking enemy missiles and returning fire with surgical precision. One Drevik warship exploded, then another, until finally the rest pulled back. Defeated and stunned, on the surface, Rourke and his team faced the last group of Drevik invaders. Near the council chamber steps, the alien soldiers rushed forward, but Rourke's team moved faster. Hand-to-hand combat, stun shots. Smoke grenades. It was brutal, but clean. At last, silence returned. The Drevik were gone. The people of Velthor Prime came out of hiding, cheering not just for the victory, but for the truth. They had seen the real face of Earth. Not conquerors, not invaders, but protectors. Rourke stood on the battlefield, looking around at the wreckage. The smoke, the broken banners of the council. He took a deep breath, then said quietly, "They thought we came alone. They thought we came weak. But we came armed with something stronger than weapons." Ambassador Reed stood beside him. "What's that?" "Conviction," Rourke said, "and the will to never bow to lies." The war wasn't over, but the galaxy had changed forever. Earth wasn't a target anymore. Earth was a force no one would ever underestimate again. Velthor Prime was no longer a place of lies. The Council's false peace had been destroyed. The Drevik had been pushed back, and Earth was still standing. Stronger than ever, but even now, the threat hadn't disappeared. Enemies were watching from the shadows, waiting to strike again. They thought Earth would back down after one battle. They were wrong. The next morning, Ambassador Reed walked through the main square of Velthor Prime, where crowds had gathered. Alien civilians from many species stood together. Some held signs written in multiple languages. Peace must be real. No more tricks. And humans are welcome. The people were no longer afraid of Earth. They were inspired. Commander Rourke stood near the old council statue. Now broken and cracked, a group of alien children stared at him from a distance, wide-eyed and whispering. One stepped forward, a small creature with purple skin and big eyes. "Are you the one who saved us?" she asked. Rourke bent down and gave her a small smile. "I just made sure they didn't hurt you." The child hugged him, surprising everyone nearby later that day. Earth's temporary command center received a message from Earth's High Command. President Alina Shah appeared on screen. Her face was serious. "You did well. You showed the galaxy who we are. Now we move to the next step. We offer a real treaty, but this time on our terms. Earth would not just fight to protect itself. It would lead a new future, one based on trust, truth, and strength." Ambassador Reed and Rourke began writing a new treaty. They invited all species who had been betrayed by the Council or bullied by stronger powers. They didn't ask for weapons or control. They offered something different: partnership, safety, and freedom. The message was clear. No more lies, no more fear. While many alien leaders hesitated, some answered right away. The Zyrene, once allies of the Council, now admitted they had been used to. Their leader, a tall, blue-skinned warrior, sent a message to Earth. "We want to stand with those who fight for truth, even when it's hard." One by one, small systems, planets, and even trade unions joined Earth's side. The new alliance began to form quickly, faster than anyone expected. But the Drevik were not finished. In a hidden asteroid base, Drevik commanders were planning a second attack. This time, they wouldn't go after Velthor Prime. They wanted to strike Earth directly. Their spies had learned about Earth's defense patterns. They thought Earth would be tired, too stretched, too distracted. But Earth's intelligence services had already intercepted the communication. They knew the Drevik were coming, and this time they were going to stop them before the attack even started. Commander Rourke was chosen to lead a special operation, not just defense, but a preemptive strike to shut down the Drevik command center. A small team of human and alien operatives trained together for 2 days. Some were from Earth, others from new allied worlds. They called themselves the Iron Pact. The mission was risky. They had to sneak into Drevik space, disable the command core, and escape before being detected. Rourke looked at his team before launch. "We don't fight for power. We fight so no child wakes up under someone else's chains." Their ship, the Valkyrie, flew in dark mode, avoiding sensors and slipping through asteroid fields. When they reached the Drevik base, they moved in silence, using stealth suits and magnetic boots to crawl along the outer walls like ghosts. Inside, they found the core huge machines controlling Drevik battle plans and communications. Nyla, now part of the Iron Pact, hacked into the system and downloaded every secret file. They were planning to hit 5 Earth cities at once. She whispered, they were going to make it look like Earth started it. Rourke planted explosive charges, not to destroy, but to disable the control systems. "Let them live," he said, "but let them live powerless," as they escaped. The Drevik base suddenly went dark. Their plans shattered, their control broken. The Valkyrie jumped back to Earth space just before the Drevik ships could reach them. The attack had been stopped before it even began, back on Velthar Prime. The mood was changing across the galaxy. More and more species saw what Earth had done. They had been attacked, lied to, tricked, and they still chose peace. But not weakness. Earth didn't seek war, but didn't fear it either. One alien ambassador stood during a new summit and said, "Earth didn't just bring weapons, they brought hope. They brought a new way." Commander Rourke stood at the edge of the room, quiet as always. He didn't smile, he didn't need to. The mission was not about glory. It was about safety for Earth. And now, for many others, Ambassador Reed raised the new treaty in front of the crowd. "This is our answer to betrayal. Not fear, not revenge, but a stronger alliance. Built with open eyes and ready hands, and for the first time in centuries." The galaxy believed it, because Earth had come armed, but not just with firepower. They came armed with truth, courage, and the will to protect what mattered most. The stars above Velthar Prime were calm now, but the galaxy was not the same anymore. The Council was broken, the Drevik were defeated. And Earth stood in a position no one expected a leader. Not by force, but by example. What began as a trap had become a turning point. Humanity had not only survived, it had inspired others to rise. The new alliance Earth was building grew larger every day. Dozens of alien species sent messages of support. Some offered technology. Others shared maps and old secrets. Even planets that once feared humans now sent their diplomats to Earth, asking to join the new peace circle. But peace was not simple. Inside the temporary command center on Velthar Prime, Ambassador Reed sat with representatives from 14 different species. They had come to sign the new treaty, but each had questions, worries, and memories of the old Council's lies. "How do we know this won't turn into another trap?" One asked, "How do we trust again?" said another. Reed listened carefully, then stood. Her voice was calm but strong. "Because we're not hiding anything. Because we don't ask you to give up your power, only to share it. Because we fight for your freedom, not control." She walked over to the center of the room and placed the treaty down. "And because Earth has already proven when we're attacked, we defend not just ourselves, but those who stand beside us." That was enough. One by one, the delegates stepped forward and added their marks to the treaty. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a symbol of a new future built by truth, defended by strength and shaped by those who had been ignored for too long. Meanwhile, Rourke and his iron-packed team returned to Earth. They were welcomed as heroes, but none of them smiled for cameras. They had seen too much, lost too many friends. And they knew this victory was only the beginning of a long journey. President Alina Shah called a full council meeting on Earth. She showed the galaxy-wide footage of the Drevik attack plans and Earth's response. Let this be a message, too. Anyone who still hides behind fear or hate, she said, we will not start war. But we will never run from it either. Her words were powerful. And across alien worlds, people listened, but not everyone was ready to accept this new order. A few former council members still held power in isolated regions. They began spreading rumors that Earth wanted to control the galaxy. They used old videos, edited lies, and false stories to turn the weak against the strong. Earth came with weapons. They shouted. They came to conquer. These lies reached a distant planet called Corax, a place once protected by the Council, but now full of fear. Small groups began to protest against Earth, and some even attacked the new Allied trade ships. The situation grew tense. Ambassador Reed and Rourke were sent to Corax to calm things down. When they arrived, they were met with cold stares and silent streets. Armed guards blocked the entrance to the government hall. We don't want humans here, one guard said. We? Remember what the council told us. Reed didn't raise her voice. She simply said, then let us tell you what we did. Not what you were told. For 3 days, Reed and Rourke stayed on Corax, speaking to leaders, meeting with civilians, and showing uncut footage of what happened at Velthar Prime. They didn't beg for trust. They didn't force anyone to listen. They just told the truth and waited on the 4th day. A local leader named Saroon stood up during a town meeting. His voice trembled. I lost my son to a council war. I believed their lies. But now, I see what they were hiding. Earth didn't come to rule. They came because no one else would stand up. The people of Corax clapped. Not with joy, but with understanding. Later that night, Saroon met with Rourke in private. I don't like war, he said, but I like being someone's puppet even less. Your alliance is honest, we'll join you. But if you ever become like the Council, we'll fight you too. Rourke nodded with respect. That's exactly the kind of ally we want. Back on Earth, the alliance continued to grow. Over 50 planets had joined now, sharing resources, knowledge, and protection. A new council was being formed, not a secret club like the old one, but a public, rotating body where every voice mattered. Earth didn't sit at the head of the table. It sat beside others, equal and present, in the final ceremony on Velthar Prime. Where the last piece of the old council building was taken down, Ambassador Reed stood on a large platform surrounded by beings from hundreds of worlds. This is not the end, she said. It's the beginning of something better. And if we want peace, real peace, then we must protect it every day. Together, Rourke stood behind her, silent, watching the stars. The galaxy was changing. Not because of Earth's weapons, but because of its courage. It came armed, but not to destroy. It came armed with hope and gave others the strength to hope again too. Years had passed since the day Earth walked into the trap on Velthar Prime. That day changed everything. It didn't just stop a war, it rewrote the rules of the galaxy. What began as a trick to break humanity had turned into the rise of a new kind of leadership, not based on fear or power, but on trust, action, and truth. Earth was no longer seen as a wild, unpredictable race from a small blue planet. Now, it was seen as something else entirely, a protector, a unifier, and too many, a symbol of hope. But even with peace growing, the work was not finished. There were still those who feared change, who whispered lies in the dark corners of space, hoping to bring back the old days on Earth. President Alina Shah sat in a quiet room, watching old footage from the Velthor Prime Treaty talks. She remembered every moment, the speeches, the betrayal, the fire in the skies, and the people who didn't make it back. She closed the screen and called for a meeting. Her message went across the galaxy, not as a command, but as an invitation. Leaders, soldiers, workers, and even civilians from every allied world were called to a special gathering. It wasn't a war meeting, it was something different, something greater. The gathering took place on a newly built space station floating near the planet Hesperus. It was not controlled by Earth or any single race. It was created by the Alliance. Built by many hands, each piece representing a world that had chosen truth over fear. Commander Rourke stood at the edge of a wide observation deck, looking out at the stars. Beside him stood Nyla. No longer just a tech officer, but now a symbol of galactic unity. They had both seen the worst of war and had helped shape something better from its ashes. "I never thought I'd see this," Nyla said, her voice soft. "So many species, all in one place, all ready to work together. We didn't get here by accident," Rourke replied. "We fought for this, not just with weapons, but with every hard choice we made." Down below, the great hall of the station filled with thousands of beings. Some wore formal robes, others wore armor. Some were old, others still young, but they all came for the same reason: to be part of something honest. Ambassador Sylvia Reed walked onto the stage. The lights dimmed, and silence filled the room. She looked around at all the faces, human and alien, then spoke. "Years ago, Earth was invited to sign a peace treaty. But that treaty was a trap. We were not supposed to survive it, but we did. Not because we had better weapons, but because we brought better purpose," she continued. "Since then, we have fought lies with truth and fear with courage. We have built something together that no empire could ever force into existence: real peace. And that peace must now be protected, not by one planet, not by one army, but by all of us." Applause filled the hall, not from pride, but from shared strength. One by one, leaders from many worlds came forward to sign a new agreement. It was not called a treaty this time. It was called the Pact of the Free. It promised that no world could be forced into war without cause. No planet would be punished for defending itself, and no council, no empire would ever hold all the power again. When the last leader signed, the lights dimmed again, and a video played. Showed the first moments of the Velthor Prime attack, the human fleet's arrival, and the moment Earth refused to kneel. The room went silent again, but this time, the silence was filled with respect. Then, something surprising happened. The daughter of one of the former council leaders stepped onto the stage. She had lived in hiding since the truth was revealed. Her name was Sereth, and she had watched her father fall from power after years of lies. But she had not followed his path. "I came today," she said, "not to ask forgiveness, but to offer something. I saw how my father ruled, and I see how Earth leads now, and I choose the second path." She removed a small pendant from around her neck and placed it on the stage. "This is the last piece of the old council seal. It no longer belongs to the past. It belongs to the future you're building now." The moment was quiet, but powerful. Rourke stepped forward and picked up the pendant. Looking at the symbol, the same one that once meant power over others, now it would be a reminder of what not to become. Later that night, Rourke returned to his room. He looked out the window at the stars once again, remembering the battles, the losses, the betrayals, but also the moments of unity, the kindness from strangers, and the trust that had slowly grown across the stars. He pressed a button on his communicator and recorded a message to those who come after us. "Remember this: peace is not something given. It is something earned, protected, and shared. We came armed to Velthor Prime. Yes, but not just with weapons. We came armed with truth, and that's why we're still here." He sent the message to the Alliance archives, where it would be stored. Forever, a warning and a promise for the future, in the distance. The lights of the space station flickered like stars. Each light was a voice, a choice, a part of something greater, and across the galaxy. A quiet lesson remained: never mistake kindness for weakness, because when Earth came to the table, they came armed anyway.